everyone. Today's video is gonna be about Despising King. Once upon a time, there was a king who ruled over the land of Hokkaido. The king had a kind heart and his people loved him. The king would seek advice in every matter that required his attention from his council of chiefs, despite his age and position. With the advice he received, he was able to rule over his people peacefully for many years. And one day he fell sick, and the heir apparent, his eldest son, was told to perform a ritual before the second cock crow in order to save his life. So the young man agreed to perform the ritual in order to save his father's life. And before the sunset, he went to his wife's house and slept there until the following morning. So he wasn't able to perform the ritual, and on his way back home, he met people crying. They were crying because his father passed away. The elders of the village were mad at him about what he did, and they asked him to pay a fine before his father was buried. He paid the fine, and his father was buried. And as the heir apparent, he took over his father's throne. The council of chiefs would not crown him. The heir apparent began to rule, but he did not take any advice from the council of chiefs as his father did before. He was very much unlike his father. He was not listening to anyone about anything. He did what was right in his own eyes and not what could benefit the people. One day, the council of chiefs decided to crown him as the result of the pressure and the threat he put on them through the palace guard, and this made the entire town of Hokkaido all agog. The elders and people were gathered at the market square, which was a usual venue for the final celebration of past kings. The chiefs and the family in charge of the coronation went to the palace to dress the king for the coronation. During this period, the king was expected to take breakfast. Was not expected to take breakfast, but dinner after the coronation. But Ologe, the heir apparent, insisted that he must eat the delicious red melon prepared by his wife, and all attempts by his wife, the chiefs, the elders, and friends advising him not to do so did not succeed. So eventually he ate the food, and a fragment of the melon he ate was stuck on his mustache. They tried to tell him that he had a piece of melon stuck on his face, on his mustache, but he wasn't listening to. He didn't want to listen to anybody. So people didn't say anything, and they just let him be. So the king was crowned in the palace, and it was time for him to dance with his family, chiefs, elders, and friends who accompanied him to the market square for the final celebration. Unknown to him, the fragment of red melon was still conspicuously hanging on his mustache. And as the dance progressed, the drummer saw the fragment of the red melon and translated it through his talking drum, saying, "The king who does not listen to advice, there is a fragment of red melon on your mustache." So the king immediately touched his mustache, and the red melon fragment soiled his hand, which made him angry. And after the celebration, he summoned his chiefs, the elders, his wives, and friends, and asked them why they did not tell him that there was a fragment of red melon on his mustache. And they all responded with one voice that because he had never listened to any of their advice before or correction, and that they even tried to tell him, but they could not. So the king was very sorry for the past disobedience to his people's advice, and he promised to take corrections, suggestions, and advice in the future. So the moral of this story is to always listen to the advice and wisdom of those around you. The king did not listen to the advice from his council of chiefs, which resulted on his humiliation. So it is important to listen to the people you trust and who want the best for you. Doing what seems right in your own eyes, like the king did, may not always be what is best for you.
Hi everyone, so today we are going to be doing a project that follows along with the story we read, The Despising King. So basically the moral of this story was to listen to the advice and the wisdom of those around you. The new king did not listen, and he was in turn humiliated. So it is important to learn to listen to people you trust and who want the best for you. So one example of this would be your teacher, which is what our project will be focusing on. And she will be reading off the handout that is provided on the website. And since I am doing this alone, I will just be reading the instructions and drawing on this piece of paper. So what I have here is a colorful piece of paper. You can use the one that comes along with the handout, or you can grab a plain piece of paper, a colored one. And then I have some markers here that I will be using. You can use the colored pencils or any other medium of art. Number 1 is draw a big circle on your paper. So right now we don't know what we're drawing. I'm going to use black because I don't know what I'm drawing, and it just says to draw a big circle. So there's my circle. Now it says number 2, draw 2 eyes in the circle. So now I can assume that this is going to be a head. I'll always go back and fix it later if we want to. Number 3, draw a nose. So since it's not giving me any further details, I can do whatever kind of nose I want. So I'm gonna do one here, one here. That's my nose. Okay. Draw a mustache and a small mouth underneath. So I'm going to draw this lip. We're going to draw the lip here. And it doesn't have to be a small mouth. It can be any kind of mouth you want. It could be smiling, frowning, angry. And then what kind of mustache? So there's my mustache and my mouth. He looks like he's just having a plain face. And now it says to sketch some hair on the head. So I'm gonna use my blue marker to sketch some hair on my head. And I don't know what kind of hair he has. So we'll do some curly hair because I'm not sure. I don't know if his hair is long or short. I mean, whatever. Okay, there's some hair, and I can go back and edit that later. Okay, now draw a crown with at least 4 peaks on it. So I can draw any kind of crown I want. I just have to make sure that his crown has 4 peaks, because that's what the instructions are telling me. So we have 1, 2, a big one here, 3, 4. I'm gonna do 5 because the instructions said I could do at least 4, which means I can do a little more. We'll color that in. Okay, there's his crown. Now it says to add 5 circles and 3 diamonds. So this could be anywhere I want, with any color. So 5 circles, I assume, can be any kind of jewelry or gems in his crown. So that's 5, and it says 3 diamonds. So I'll do 1, 2, 3. 3 diamonds, 5 circles. Okay. Now it says, number 8, to give him an ear on each side of the head. Maybe your hair covers his ears like mine does, but that's where it's gonna be. Ear. Now it says add 2 lines at the bottom of the head vertically, which means they go down like this. That's gonna be his neck. Give your person some clothes. Think about royal attire or robes that royalty wears. So this will be his clothing. It can be any kind that you want it to be. Cloak. I can't do that. So I'm drawing a cloak on my royal person. Like this. And now that you have the outline of your person, you can add little details. So I can add the eyes. I can add eyebrows. So the moral of this story, again, was to follow the advice of those around you who want the best for you. Advice is information that will help you lead to a decision. Obviously, the king, again, in this story, didn't follow the advice of his advisors, and so he felt wrong because of that and was humiliated. But often, people you can follow in the real world are people like your teachers, as you were reading this handout. It could be parents. When you get older, it could be people like a banker or someone who does taxes, who will tell you what the best decision is for certain things that you may not know, and it's best to usually follow them so that you can have the best outcome. So you just add your little details onto your king. I can add more hair if I want to make it longer. I can add colors, bigger hair. I can add things to the crown now. But the purpose of this was to practice listening to someone who knows what they're doing or has the instructions to something.